The topic of discussion for this video is juvenile plantar dermatosis. Hello dear students, myself Dr. Maddineni Srinivas. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So we are going to cover all the important points related to this very commonly encountered skin condition in this video. Watch it till the end. So this condition has so many other names. It has so many synonyms. So what is it also called as? Chapped fissured feet, atopic winter feet, forefoot dermatitis, dermatitis plantar sicca, moon boot foot syndrome, sweaty sock dermatitis, peridigital dermatitis. So these are all the synonyms, and it's a very common chronic and typically self-limiting eczematous dermatosis that primarily affects the weight-bearing areas in the soles of the children. So this is broadly about the juvenile plantar dermatosis, and by definition it's a localized type of eczema presenting especially as a dry skin condition with a characteristic shiny fissured appearance. This shiny or glazed appearance is very characteristic of this condition on the plantar aspect of the feet. Coming to the etiology, so age group, it is very common in the case of the boys, especially those who are in the age groups of 3 and 14. Commonly it is seen in 7.3 or 8 years, 7 to 8 years age group, and rarely it is seen in the adults. That is an important point. And though it is called as atopic winter feet, it is seen in the winter season, no doubt, because of the excess of the dryness which is already there in the environment, but it can also worsen in the summer months because of the heat, sweating and humidity. So this is one important point you have to remember. And etiology, the etiology is multifactorial, and it involves a combination of the genetic predisposition of the child and also certain exogenous mechanical factors, which both of them, if they get combined, then it's going to cause a severe form of the juvenile plantar dermatosis. So coming to the first factor, that is atopic dermatitis. Yes, these children who are having this atopic background, that is in the form of asthma, the allergic rhinitis and bronchial asthma, and also atopic dermatitis, they are the ones who are going to have the higher predisposition to develop this juvenile plantar dermatosis, right? And the inherent dry skin of the atopics is also going to make the barrier more susceptible to the damage. Coming to the next one, that is a footwear and the occlusion. So the use of the synthetic impermeable materials like nylon, plastic, vinyl or rubber, they are going to make the moisture get locked, because of which the socks is going to become damp and also the feet are going to become very wet, and that is all going to produce this humid micro environment. That is also a very important part of this juvenile plantar dermatosis sweat moisture cycle. So these patients are also going to have this problem of hyperhidrosis, which can cause the overhydration of the stratum corneum layer. When shoes are removed, what is it going to produce? Rapid drying is going to lead to the severe cracking, brittleness and the fissuring of the feet, and also the areas especially over the forefoot area. Frictional trauma, the repetitive movements of the foot sliding up and down in the shoe during the sports and also during the dancing may cause the macerated stratum corneum to be removed, leading to the classic glazed or the shiny thinned appearance of the skin. I will show how it looks like in the upcoming slides. So coming to the clinical features, how is the juvenile plantar dermatosis clinically going to present? Just like I have told you, shiny erythematous glazed patches with loss of the normal epidermal ridge pattern, that is dermatoglyphics will be lost, and you can see this is the great toe, which is going to be the most common initial site for the development of the GPD, that is ball of the big toes. And you can here see there is some inflammation which is seen, that is a redness you are able to see, and also you can see that the surface of the skin is very shiny. This is what is called as glazed skin appearance, glazed skin appearance. And here you can see that the involvement of the forefoot is very classical of juvenile plantar dermatosis. Along with dryness, you are able to some minimal scaling is there, and also you can see fissuring also is visible. Okay, and this is very interesting point, sparing. The areas which are going to be spared are very important to remember in juvenile plantar dermatosis. That is the interdigital spaces, there are spaces between the toes, that is toe webs, and the instep, which is the non weight bearing arch. So you can see in this picture also very classically the instep is absolutely normal here, right? So that is the area of sparing, and also dorsum of the feet is spared in JPD. Very important point, because there are some other skin conditions which are differentials for JPD where the dorsum of the feet is going to be involved. So this is another picture where you are able to see very classical sparing of the instep. Rest of the skin you are able to see erythematous changes are there, and also associated with glazing. The shiny nature is also clearly visible, and if you zoom in you can also see that the dermatoglyphics of these areas, the skin markings are going to be lost. The lesions are going to be painful, tender, and also they can be itchy, right? And severe drying leads to painful scaling, cracking, and fissuring. So these are some of the symptoms which the patients can have. So these are some of the other images, and you can see in this particular picture the patient is also having the hyperlinearity of the soles. So this patient most probably also has ichthyosis vulgaris also as a associated feature with juvenile plantar dermatosis. And some atypical sites also it could affect the palms and the fingertips also. So complications, most significant complication is development of deep painful cracks and fissures which are going to be very painful, and they take some weeks to months to heal. That is a problem. And there could also be secondary bacterial infection, but this is not so common. If you have to diagnose, it's mostly a diagnosis of clinical examination, so there is no requirement of any investigation as such, but we can do investigation like for example KOH to rule out tinea pedis, and also you could do patch testing to rule out the ACD, allergic contact dermatitis, to any substances which are there in the footwear. And if you want to do histopathology, definitely you can do that, and you are going to see spongiosis within the epidermis, and also dermal inflammation can be there surrounding the sweat ducts. That is what is going to be seen. Differentials, so like I have told you, the tinea pedis for which we are doing the KOH to rule out, so this usually involves interdigital toe webs. This is one very interesting point. The toe webs were actually spared in the JPD, whereas in tinea pedis they are going to be affected, and usually we are going to see also the maceration, as you can see here. Allergic contact dermatitis, another differential, that is shoe dermatitis, in which various chemicals which are there in the shoes, they are going to produce ACD. But the interesting difference which you have to remember is the dorsum of the feet and the toes are going to be involved in the shoe dermatitis, right, which is very classically spared in the case of the JPD, right? That is very important point. Like this picture you can see here, the shoe dermatitis, the recalcitrance of the patient's dermatitis to potent topical steroids led to patch testing. So this patient, they thought as a different diagnosis, but they were treating with steroids, but still the condition was not improving, so they have ultimately did a patch test. So it was found that it is positive for PTBP, which is one of the adhesives which can be used as a glue in the shoes. So more commonly shoe dermatitis is seen on dorsal aspect of the feet and results from rubber products in the shoes or chromates which are used in the leather, right? Coming to the atopic dermatitis, again this is going to involve and affect the dorsum of the toe and also the ankle. Plantar psoriasis, in psoriasis remember they are going to be nail pitting, which you should look for, always examine for the nails, and also there is going to obviously silvery adherent scales will be there rather than the glazed appearance of the GPD. Keratolysis exfoliativa, they in this usually it is seen post the pompholix, right, and it is asymptomatic and it is going to present as focal peeling off of the skin. It may have white rings or air bubbles present on the palms and also over the soles, and it will not have any erythema or fissuring, which is very classical for GPD. Coming to treatment, actually there is no single effective cure. We should manage the patients, okay? That is, we should ask the patient to keep the skin well moist with keratolytics, which is going to take care of the skin barrier which is going to be repaired, and also we should reduce the inflammation if at all the skin is inflamed, and we have to prevent this wet dry cycle. the wetness which is suddenly becoming dry because of the removal of the shoe and removal of the socks, that should be slow, it should be prevented slowly, right? So coming to the prevention general measures, so footwear modification, we should advise them to avoid any synthetic impermeable shoes, that is plastic, vinyl, rubber, switch to 100% cotton socks and breathable leather shoes. Yes, definitely these are going to be a little bit costly, so that's why in the Indian population, most likely they are going to stop the usage of the shoes. They will take permission from the schools and they will be using the slippers. That is what is seen usually, but this is what is advisable, right? If possible, open sandals to reduce the friction and sweat retention. Moisture controls, socks should be changed once or two times daily. If socks are damp, that is moist, upon the shoe removal, they must be immediately taken off to prevent the rapid drying that causes the fissuring. Topical emollients, keratolytics could be used because the stratum corneum layer is affected here. We can use the keratolytics, urea salicylic acid, to manage the scaling part, and bland emollients, paraffin type ointments, Lasar's paste can also be used, and apply the treatment whatever we are doing topicals immediately after the moist socks are removed, so that the moisture is going to be sealed in the skin, in the stratum corneum especially. So we should not remove the socks and let the skin to become dry and after that apply the cream. Instead, immediately after the removal of the socks, the topical agents, creams or emollient should be applied. So if there is inflammation, topical corticosteroids are going to take care, and also topical calcium inhibitors also can be used. Tar preparations can also be used. To manage the fissures, spray or liquid acrylate glue can also be done in the fissures, so that it is going to act as an immediate mechanical splinting and also pain relief, because pain is very important symptom in these patients. See, overall the prognosis is very good and parents and child can be reassured that this condition is going to self-limit by the time the child reaches the adolescence. So nothing to worry, definitely it is going to be recurrent every winter season, every summer we can see the worsening of the condition, but ultimately it is going to completely limit by itself, usually by 14.3 years, and very minority it may persist into the adult life. Otherwise there is no reason to uh, feel any distress related to the chronicity of this condition. So I hope this video was helpful. If so, please do that like button and also do subscribe for more such videos on a regular basis. Do comment for any further help in dermatology. Thank you so much for watching the video till this point. Happy learning, happy learning. Bye bye. We'll meet you in the next video soon.